Messaging Blast technical seminars are an Intertech production. For instructor-led .NET, Java, and XML courses, visit us at www.intertech.com.
All right, just for the sake of running along quickly here, let's go ahead and let's add a web performance test. And sort of the same notion, what we've got here is an IE recorder bar. Same idea going on here. So I'm going to navigate to my application. Sign in. Let's just add a few items to the carts. Go to final checkout, submit, and then let's stop the recording. So right, as I've been going along, all the different URLs I've been hitting have been getting recorded over here, along with some other information, such as what are my form post parameters. Here's what I was typing in as far as usernames and passwords and that sort of thing. So now when we hit stop, it's going to come back to Visual Studio, and it's going to create a web test for me with all of these different requests. Now what it's doing right now is something called detecting dynamic parameters, which is just, if you use a session ID as part of your query string, each time you run against your application, that session ID is going to be unique. So it's looking for, basically it's rerunning the exact same test, and it's saying, okay, has anything changed? And if it's changed, I know those are dynamic parameters. Okay, I just want to keep things really simple and make a couple of notes. As you're running along, you'll notice down here in the properties, we've got this think time. As you're recording, and I was yammering, there were various think times being recorded, which may or may not be representative of what you want to execute. So you notice 4 is pretty excessive think time. So you can go in and clean these up, or you can turn off think times altogether. Now, what I'm going to do is go and add, keep this really simple. I'm going to go and add a validation to my checkout. Well, first let's run this and show you what it looks like when it's actually running in front of you. Okay, so we're actually passing HTTP information back and forth. This down here is doing some amount of rendering, but that's in this web browser type thing. This isn't actually happening if you're testing it automated, or if you're testing it in load, which actually makes a lot of sense. You're not terribly concerned about, well, certainly when you're generating load, you don't want to be concerned about how the client is rendering. You want to be concerned with generating enough traffic to load the server. So that makes a lot of sense. And in the automated world, you're not worried about the rendering so much either. You're worried about, are you passing the correct HTTP traffic back and forth? Okay, so I'm going to quickly just create a validation on checkout. I'm going to go look at our response here. I'm just going to find sort of summary or something like that in here. Okay, so I've got a total of $389.97 here, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my web test, right click, I'm going to insert a validation, and you can get as fancy as you want here. I'm going to do a really simple fine text validation, but you can put in, what am I thinking here? You can put in regular expressions. You can put in regular expressions and all that sort of thing, but I'm just doing a simple fine text. And another common validation might be that I don't want my request time to exceed, I don't know, 200 milliseconds. Okay, so I've got my two validation rules. You'll notice one little thing here, this level here is at high, and that's going to come in to play later when we create a load test. So we'll quick go run this again, make sure that my validation rules pass and don't mess up anything. I'm not at all sure if 200 milliseconds is reasonable or not for a validation. Okay, I think we'll probably wrap it up here in about 5 minutes. Okay, so everything looked good there. Now, I'm going to add one more web request just so I can have a little more interesting load test. I'm sorry, add one more web test. Now, there's all kind of best practices that I'm just completely skipping over here. For example, you notice that my web server name is hard-coded in here. You can parameterize that. Same rules apply with web tests as did in the manual testing. You can call a web test from a web test. So the same notion of shared tests. Data binding web tests is trivial. All kind of things I'm glossing over. Okay, so now I've got two web tests, and what I want to do lastly here is add a load test, and then I'll take some questions when it runs because I'll set it up for about 2 minutes. Okay, so we've got just kind of a wizard-based load test here. We're going to walk through, give it a scenario name, decide if you want to use think times at all. Let's make it interesting. Let's just completely skip think times. What sort of load do I want? Do I want a constant user load? Do I want a step load where you can start at 10, increment every 10 seconds by 10 up to 200, that sort of thing. Then you've got various options for test mix models. This based on total and number of tests is sort of if you've got an IIS log and you know about what percentage of time A runs and what percentage of time B is running, use this. Or if you know, hey, one power user does this and 5 normal people do this, and the power user to the normal person count is 5 to 1, or that sort of thing. You can base it on people click X of these tests an hour. You can set these up to run in sequential order. The sequential order, I think, is new this release. Let's go on to our test mix. We're going to add both of our web tests. And use these neat little sliders over here. If I know that web test run 1 runs 3 times more often than web test 2, I can use these little sliders. I can type in 75 if I prefer, and 25, however I want to manage that. Let's go next. What type of network are we talking about? Maybe I know that some percentage of my customers are on a 3G network, and some percentage of them are on a 786 cable DSL. Browser mixes, I know that we've got a bunch of people using IE, and maybe we've got a handful of people using Chrome. And then what data do I want to collect? I happen to be, oops, didn't want to click that. Okay. Happen to be running as a web server also in this mode, so maybe I want to collect my ASP.NET application information. Who knows, SQL Server. I can set up another machine to collect my SQL Server performance counters. And then how long do I want to run? You can run this dozens of hours. You can run it just a few minutes. For the sake of our little demo here, we're just going to keep it to 2 minutes. Or you can just say run until I've done 1,000 iterations. Set up what your sampling rate is. And then here's where I mentioned, I said when I'm doing these validations, take a peek. All these validations are set at high. Creating heavy load is a difficult thing, and you want to minimize the amount of other things you're doing. So validation is taking away from the processing power of the load generator to generate load by doing these validations. So what you can do is set these validation levels to low, medium, and high, and determine during a load test which validations do you want to run. So if I set to low, none of those validations I set up are even going to run. I'm just going to go ahead and leave them at high. All right, so we've got our test all set up. Let's just go ahead and fire this off.
For more free learning resources and to see the latest lineup of our instructor-led .NET, Java, and XML courses, visit us at www.intertech.com.